If you're ever lucky enough to step into the workshop of a really dedicated RC enthusiast, maybe it's just a corner of the basement,
Yeah, could be anywhere.
You're entering this space, I like to call it a sanctuary of precision.
Mm-hmm. It really is.
It might look like chaos, but it's this. Organized chaos,
Yeah.
all built around function. You've got the bench, the bright light.
Oh, yeah, the unforgiving lamps.
Exactly. And those magnetic trays holding screws that are just impossibly tiny, peppercorn size.
And little bottles of shock oil all lined up.
Meticulously labeled, 30 weight, 40 weight,
Yes.
each one for a different setup. And then right there in the middle, the car itself.
The chassis on the stand, yeah. Ready for surgery, as you say.
And every single thing that happens there, building it, tuning it, fixing it, it all gets wrapped up in just one word.
Wrenching.
Wrenching, that's the one. And the sheer scope of that word in the RC world is what we're really digging into today.
It's remarkable, isn't it?
It covers, hours putting a complex kit together from scratch.
Right, hundreds of parts sometimes.
Or that frantic fix between race heats, broken suspension arm, 5 minutes on the clock.
Yeah, the trackside panic wrench. We've all been there.
Or just methodically cleaning a diff after a muddy run, installing those shiny aluminum hop-up parts.
Even the tiny, delicate adjustments on turnbuckles. It's all wrenching.
It covers every single hands-on thing you do with the model.
Exactly. And our mission today really is to unpack how this one word, which sounds pretty industrial, became the core cultural term for this whole hobby.
Okay.
And what the research points to, what our sources suggest, is that wrenching carries this deep cultural history with it. But it gets sort of amplified in the RC world.
Amplified how?
Because for the traditional RC enthusiast, the journey doesn't start like a real car, turning a key. It starts with building the thing.
Ah, right. The act of creation, the kit build.
Precisely. That foundational act of making it is where wrenching begins in RC. And that changes everything.
Okay, let's unpack that word itself then, because to get why it has so much weight, we need to look at its linguistic DNA. And it starts pretty physical, pretty forceful.
It really does. If you trace wrench back, you go through Middle English, Old English, Rheolonic. Eventually you hit Proto-Germanic rankis.
Rankis.
Which meant a turning, a twisting. Simple as that. Go back even further. Proto-Indo-European root, rur, just means to turn, bend.
So from the absolute beginning, it's about applying force to make something rotate. Torque. Basic mechanics.
Exactly. The physical effort.
Which perfectly describes, tightening a nut or bolt. But here's the really fascinating bit. Our sources dug up this forgotten meaning, something totally non-mechanical.
Yes, this is the cool part. Back in Old and Middle English, that same noun, rank, it also meant a trick.
A trick.
Yeah, or a wile, an artifice, a deception. Like a cunning plan, a clever strategy, nothing to do with tools.
Wow, okay, that's a huge leap. A physical twist and a clever trick in the same word.
Kind of mind-blowing, isn't it?
So are we saying that when someone is wrenching on their RC car today, especially doing fine-tuning, they're unconsciously bringing both those old meanings back together?
That's exactly the insight here. You're doing the physical act, yes, turning the tool.
The twist.
But you're also applying the mental ingenuity, the trick. Your problem solving, figuring out the setup, diagnosing issues.
So mechanical work, especially delicate RC tuning, is like applying cleverness, artifice to a physical thing.
It's the perfect blend. The word was almost destined for this kind of complex activity, combining the hands and the head.
But that mental side, the trick aspect, it kind of got overshadowed for a while, didn't it, by the Industrial Revolution?
It did, yeah. That's when wrench became really permanently tied to the tool.
Because suddenly you needed standard tools for standard parts. Mass production demanded it.
Exactly. Standard nuts, standard bolts, needed a standard tool to turn them. And the tool took over the word's identity, in a way.
And we can actually date this pretty precisely. The first time wrench is recorded, meaning a tool with jaws, is way back in 1794.
Right. And then the first U.S. patent for something recognizable as the modern wrench, that was Solomon Merrick in 1835.
So the tool becomes the main thing, the physical interface between us and the machine.
And then moving into the 20th century, the action becomes dominant again. Think about the rise of the automobile.
Early cars needed constant tinkering, right?
Constant. They were simple enough, but they needed nonstop upkeep, mostly by the owner. So you got this widespread home mechanic culture.
Everyone had a toolkit. You had to know how to use it.
And that toolkit always had wrenches. So when you're doing all that stuff, fixing, adjusting, replacing parts, you needed a shortcut term.
And wrenching on the car just became the easy slang for the whole process.
The tool literally gave its name to the trade, to the whole activity.
But it wasn't just convenient slang, was it? It picked up this cultural weight.
Oh, absolutely. Saying someone knows how to turn a wrench, that became shorthand for being capable, self-sufficient, mechanically competent.
A practical badge of honor?
Definitely. And there's an emotional side, too. So many people we looked at describe wrenching, fixing things with their hands, as, well, therapeutic.
I totally get that. It's like an antidote to how abstract so much of modern life is.
It really is. You start with something broken or just needing adjustment. You apply your skill, your hands.
And you get a concrete result. It works now. Or it works better.
Exactly. Unambiguous success. You can hold that perfectly rebuilt diff in your hand. In a world of emails and spreadsheets, that's incredibly satisfying, concrete, verifiable.
And that whole feeling, the competence, the satisfaction, the self-reliance, that's the cultural package that was ready to jump from the full-size garage to the mini one.
Perfectly poised, yeah.
Yeah.
Which brings us to how RC really adopted and adapted it. It wasn't just borrowing a word. The hobby's very nature cemented the ethos.
Because RC, especially in its golden years, the 70s and 80s, was built on kits.
Absolutely fundamental. Think of those classic Tamiyas, the Porsche 934, the Hornet, the Rough Rider. They came in a box full of parts, hundreds of them.
So your first experience wasn't driving, it was building. That was the crucial starting point.
You had to assemble the chassis piece by piece, build the shocks, fill them with oil, put the gearbox together gear by gear. It was a serious mechanical undertaking.
That was the rite of passage. You didn't just buy it, you made it.
And then, crucially, the language RC culture used for upgrades came straight from another hands-on tradition. American hot rodding.
Ah, the hop-up part.
Exactly, hop-up. That term started back in the 30s, 40s, 50s for modifying car engines for more power. It had that whole vibe of tinkering, making it faster, making it your own.
And RC companies leaned into that deliberately.
Totally. Tamiya still calls their upgrades hop-up options on the packaging. And think about the early U.S. companies like Team Losi. They basically started out making hop-up parts for the popular kits back then.
That's such a smart move linguistically. Using hop-up instantly connects upgrading your little 110 scale buggy.
To the whole respected history of souping up a 32 Ford, it imported that hands-on modification ethos right into the miniature world.
Making it almost inevitable that wrenching, the verb, would take root. And then, well, expand.
Right, so the stage is set. Wrenching fits perfectly at first because RC is like miniature car mechanics. Shocks, diffs, transmissions, just smaller tools.
Same principles, different scale.
But then RC does something unique with the word. It doesn't just mean fixing stuff like maybe it primarily does for full-size cars. It goes through this. Let's call it the Great Semantic Expansion.
Okay, the Great Semantic Expansion. I like it. So what does that mean in practice?
It means that because the word's first real application in the hobby is that intensive build process.
The creation part.
And its meaning naturally stretches to cover everything that comes after.
Yeah.
Repair isn't just fixing. It's like recreation. Maintenance is preserving that creation. Upgrading is evolution.
And tuning. Tuning is optimization. It's dialing it in.
Exactly. And that's where RC wrenching gets really specialized. It's not just fixing something that broke. It's constant. It's predictive. It's iterative.
You're not just reacting, you're proactively tweaking. Changing camber because the track temperature went up.
Or trying slightly thicker shock oil because it got more humid. Micro-adjusting the diff for better corner exit. It's continuous fine-tuning.
Which brings us right back to that forgotten meaning, the trick, the artifice.
Precisely. The physical turning of the wrench or driver is necessary, sure, but it's almost secondary sometimes.
It's the mental game. Applying the clever solution, the diagnosis, the tiny adjustment, that's the core of performance wrenching.
The physical action enables the mental trick. And that deep integration of mental strategy and physical action is what makes the RC use of wrenching so rich. It really does capture both meanings of the old word rents.
This whole idea, this deep commitment to the hands-on mechanical side, it kind of got thrown into sharp relief when ready-to-run models came along.
The RTRs. Yeah, starting mainly in the 1990s, they made the hobby way more accessible, which was great in many ways.
You could just buy it, charge the battery, and go drive. No build required.
But it created a bit of a cultural split, didn't it, between the RTR users and the kit builders.
For the hardcore guys, the ones who came up building their cars, the ability and the willingness to wrench your own car suddenly became more important.
It became a differentiator. a mark of a deeper commitment.
It wasn't just something everyone did anymore, it was a conscious choice, almost like a badge of honor.
Exactly. It signaled you weren't just a casual user. You were an enthusiast who understood the machine from the inside out. Because you built it, you maintained it, you optimized it.
Wrenching became part of the identity.
Absolutely.
So when you step back, the journey of this one word, wrenching, is kind of amazing.
It really is.
It starts as this raw physical twist. It picks up this forgotten meaning of a clever trick, becomes the name for an industrial tool.
Then it becomes automotive slang for being self-reliant, fixing your own stuff.
And finally, it lands in the RC world and expands to become this all-encompassing philosophy almost,
Hmm.
the core identity of the hobbyist.
That sums it up perfectly. For the RC enthusiast, wrenching is way more than just turning screws. It's a whole mindset.
A commitment to the tangible.
To the tangible, the mechanical, the creative. It's where the satisfaction comes from really knowing that machine inside and out and constantly making it better through your own skill and, well, intellect.
It separates just driving it from truly mastering it.
The operator versus the creator and optimizer. And maybe the final thought for you, the listener, is what other words are out there? Seemingly simple, specialized terms for a hobby or a trade that actually carry this incredibly rich, hidden history connecting modern fun to ancient ideas and basic human ingenuity.
That's a great question to ponder. The true weight's a word.